Alright now, for a place from Nigeria, for Africa, where we come from, we'll not talk some kind of matter like this. We'll say, wider, wider, wider.
Hello, this is Face to Face on Radio Africa 1 International, an arm of Africa Broadcasting Network. My name is OSOLONYE Ajufo. Our very special guest with us today from Abuja, Nigeria, speaking to us in Washington, is Felix AKugha.
But the big question there is, if we have several ethnic groups in Nigeria, if we have adopted zoning, even in the Nigerian constitution that talks of federal character, why will President Goodluck Jonathan want to overheat the polity? Why would he want to upset an existing arrangement? And the reaction from the north tells me that the northern part of Nigeria will not take it lying down. And that is where a possible crisis and anarchy can emanate from.
On BBC, the former Vice President AKugha spoke of some arrangement, and the last time I interviewed him, he was of the opinion or notion that, okay, so it's time for an AKugha candidacy, which of course that's a Northern candidacy. And now, bring us up on this field that there's so many people are running out there who are like those the horses in the front.
Yeah, well, there's also, we've had a few candidates from the north, and then we've also had a Northern Elders Forum that says that the north will present just one candidate, a consensus candidate. But we've had some, within the PDP at least, we've had former military president Ibrahim Babangida, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former National Security Advisor Guso, and then former current governor of Kwara State, Bukola Saraki. Outside the PDP, there are other front runners as well. We've had Muhammadu Buhari, formerly of the AMPP, who is now with a new political party, also running for president. We've also had the former chairman of the Economic and Financial Commission, EFCC, Nuhu Ribadu, who is running also under the ticket of the Action Congress of Nigeria, ACN. We also have the governor of Kano State, Shekarau, who was also declared under AMPP to run for president. So we have, and the list is growing. A lot of candidates coming from the north.
From the south? Who are the prominent ones from the south?
Yeah, well, from the south, I think we just have one prominent candidate, President Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan seems to be the only candidate from the south, as it were.
Does it mean that the rest of the political stalwarts from the south kind of understand this arrangement, which, quoting President Jonathan, there is no such arrangement?
Yes, I think a lot of politicians in the south understand it very clearly that, look, this is the position. And I think that President Jonathan will be behaving like the ostrich, just burying his head in the sand and thinking that the whole body is... he can fool himself, he can't fool Nigerians. I wonder why Mr. President would be saying, for instance, that there was no zoning of the presidential office, when in fact he got to being vice president under Yar'Adua as a result of zoning. He was supposed to contest as governor of Bayelsa State. It was the issue of zoning that took him to vice presidency. Now, to go into the issue of zoning properly, if you remember the political structure in Nigeria from 1999 to 2007, with somebody from the southeast as president, somebody from the north as vice president, somebody from the southeast as president of Senate, somebody from the north again as Speaker of the House of Representatives, with somebody from the South as Deputy President of the Senate, and somebody from the North again as Vice President of the Senate, or Deputy President of the Senate. If you look at that configuration, which was maintained for 8 years between 1999 and 2003, we had some changes. But even when those changes occurred, they were reserved specifically for people from the extraction for which those positions were zoned. For instance, we had, between 1999 and 2007, we had 5 presidents of Senate, beginning, of course, with Evan Ewerem, Chuba Okadibo, Adolphus Wabara, Ayim Pius Ayim, and then again you have the final President Ken Namani. 5 of them, never within that 8-year period did anybody from another part of Nigeria say, look, I want to be Senate President as well, even though you had 109 members of the Senate. Even though you had 109 members of the Senate, none of them, the position was reserved for a senator from the Southeast. Same thing with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, from Salisu Buhari to Gali Manaba and Aminu Masari. So it was clear, there's no question about the zoning of it. I mean, good luck, Jonathan, with all due respect to him and his office, tried to be extremely simplistic in his explanation. And I'm particularly disappointed in his rather undignified explanation of the position of zoning. It's clear, it's very clear to me, having covered political activities all this while, that yes, there is zoning, and even for the elections in 2011 to 2015, it has been reserved for the northern part of Nigeria.
Those of us on the international media circuits are a little bit confused with signals coming out of Nigeria. Now, there was a bombing as part of the 50th anniversary celebrations. Now, the government says there's no mend. Is there mend? Who is mend? Who? You're going to ask who bombed Nigeria. That's okay. But is there not double speak coming from the government saying there's no mend? And why should the government want to say that?
Again, Mr. President obviously has problems understanding the high office that he occupies. And he's clearly not in sync with goings on in Nigeria. It's either that, or it's either the president simply wants to play ignorant. Now, Mr. President saying there is no mend in Nigeria, and mind you, this coming hours after the bomb blast, and saying that definitely there's no mend, and MEND was not responsible for it, even after MEND had issued several emails claiming responsibility, tells me very, very clearly that the president is up to some kind of game to hoodwink Nigerians, because I know that the president receives security reports, is well informed about all the activities of the militants across the country, and he knows for a fact that not all the militants agreed to disarmament and demobilization. He knows for a fact that a few months before the Abuja explosion, there was also an explosion in Warri Delta State, long after the amnesty program was already on, where men said they were tired of talking, they did not support the amnesty program. And so Mr. President knows very clearly that MEND is still in existence as we speak. And so the statements from Mr. President, like I said, shows very clearly to me again that Mr. Jonathan, or President Jonathan, does have very serious problems. In fact, in even understanding the responsibilities of the office of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There were so much issues for him to consider that day after the bomb blast, the issues bordering on national security, issues bordering on whether or not the amnesty program itself was succeeding or it was a failure, the issue of insecurity within the Federal Capital Territory itself, the issue of militants that might still be in the creek, and the issue of arms and ammunition and sophisticated bombs that were already being imported into Nigeria. And finally, the issue of victims who were in the morgue and those that were in the hospital receiving treatment. Clearly, Mr. President did not pay much consideration to these issues. He thought the best way to handle the issue was to jump out quickly to say, no, this is not meant. I think he was just trying to secure some kind of political understanding within the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because to accept that it was meant would mean that people from the Niger Delta had rejected President Goodluck Jonathan. And so very quickly he wanted to let Nigerians know that, look, this bomb was not from my people, because the Mend people are the president's people. They are Niger Deltans just like the president. In fact, the Mend itself means, movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. If we want to continue to live together as a people with different ethnic background, with different religious persuasions, I think that politicians in Nigeria must do the best they can to respect simple agreements that guarantee the continued peaceful coexistence of all Nigerians.
That's been our guest on the show, a very vastly traveled international broadcast journalist. Felix has been all over the place. He's interviewed the likes of Muammar Gaddafi, a couple of popes here and there. He's one of Africa's leading journalists. We thank him for finding time to stopping by and talking with us. And those of you who just watched the program, remember to always get your news, your programming, and of course, if it's authentic, if they got to say it, you know where it is, www.radioafrica1.net. My name is OSOLONYE. Have a very lovely day.
Alright now, for a place in Nigeria, for Africa, where we come from, we'll not talk some kind of matter like this. We'll be saying, wider, wider, wider.